Hello everyone, welcome to Gary Mack Studio. Today I'm going to turn a piece of palm wood and show you how I did that, and that was a pain. And then I'm going to show you how I made my steady rest, and then I want to show you how I made my hollowing tool. And on that palm wood, it was some weird stuff. It was like trying to turn a straw broom or something. It was just weird. And we'll go over that and show you how I stabilized it, and I made my own vacuum chamber. This piece of palm wood, those fibers in that thing it's real soft, and they're like, boy, they'll stick you. They're like toothpicks or something, and very difficult. I mean, there's no way you could turn it without stabilizing it. This thing would be really pretty if I can get it stabilized to where it won't tear out like it is right there. I mean, it just kind of come out in chunks, and I'm gonna try and put it back under the vacuum chamber and resin it up and see if I can get that resin down all through those fibers. Here's a vacuum chamber that I made, and I just made it out of a Baltic birch, 3/4 inch Baltic birch, and cut it all up, fitted it together, and then sealed the inside of it with a sealer. And then I made the gasket. I made the gasket for the top, and here's the top for it. It's just 1 inch thick acrylic, and I just took silicone rubber, put it around this, and then I coated this with some Vaseline, and just laid it down on top like that, and put a weight on it so it would make a seal. It makes a perfect gasket on this vacuum chamber. And then I bought the vacuum at Harbor Freight, and it's got the gauge. It's simple. It works. This is to let the air in. I mean, to let the air. Yeah, let the air in, and this one is hooked to the vacuum and takes the air out. So it works real good. I took this and cast it in black resin. I put it in the vacuum chamber, and it took about 2 hours. This is a slow cure epoxy, and it takes about 3 days for it to totally cure hard. And I vacuumed it at least 2 hours. Just pumping all the air out and letting the air back in, and then pumping the air out and letting the air back in. And so far it looks like it distributed throughout those reeds, or I don't know what you call them. It looks like a broom. It's like turning a broom, actually. I want to show you how I sharpen my chisel. I don't use a grinder. I use a belt sander with a grinding belt on it. And I just built this little block on whatever angle. I've got several different angles that I put on, and it works just as good as that other. I got one of those that you hook onto the grinder, and hook it all up. But you don't have to do that. This works just as good. I can't really tell any difference. It gets just as sharp. And so sand this off a little bit, and then I use a vibrator sander to help smooth it off faster. And then this is just, I put some denatured alcohol on it to see what it's going to look like with with a little bit of a finish on it. And I think it's going to be really pretty. And it's going to take a lot of finish because that stuff is really, really porous. It's got pits all in it where those reeds or straws or whatever you want to call on that palm wood has voids in between them. And I'll have to put a lot of sanding sealer on there to get those filled. And then what you see here is I made my steady rest. It's made out of 1-inch square tubing, and then well, actually it's I forgot what it is, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and then those stays where the rollers are on it are 1 inch, and they slide perfectly inside that 1.25 inches, or whatever that is. I forgot. It's been a long time since I made this thing. And then those rollers are just inline skate wheel rollers, and I attached them on. And this thing works really good. It's really simple and easy to set up. And I need to put a T handle on that where I can just screw it down without having to use a wrench. I've been aiming to do that, but I just never got around to doing it or taking the time to do it. And then you can see how my adjustments are on it. It's just really simple. And it's very stable. It doesn't vibrate. I made one out of wood one time, and it worked okay, but it had a little bit of vibration if the stock wasn't exactly balanced. And this one doesn't shake at all. It's very stable, and I just love the thing. And then here I'm going to part off that base where I had cast it, where I'd made a base to attach the walls for the form to pour it in. So I'm going to part this off right now, or cut it off, and we'll just see how this thing is going to turn out. I think it's going to be really, really pretty when I get down to putting a finish on it and get it all sanded up real smooth. And it'll take several coats of sealer. I'm figuring 5, 6, maybe more, unless I used a resin finish on it, which I've done that before, and that works pretty good. And I could probably do that in about 2 or 3 coats of resin, and get the desired finish I want. I like gloss finishes. I like really, really glass-like gloss finishes, and that's what I'm going to shoot for on this one, I think. And so right now, I'm going to hollow this out. And here in just a moment, I want to show you how I made my hollowing tool. I've seen different versions of it online, and I made my own. And so here it's coming up here in just a moment. I'm going to attach a 1.5 inch Forstner bit and drill in through first, and then I'm going to switch to a 3-inch Forstner bit and mill out a lot of that on the inside, and then I will show you how I made my hollowing tool, and it works really, really good. And I even made it where I could have a laser indicator on it to show how thick the walls are on it. And I'm not going to use it on this particular one, because I really don't need it on this. I already know about how thick the walls are going to be, so I'm not going to set it up. It takes the time to set it up. It takes a few minutes to get it all lined up and accurate. But I'll show you that in a few minutes. But first, let's drill a hole in this thing, and got to put another set screw in it, and it's working good now. So we get this thing all bored out. And we'll go to that 3-inch. And if you'll see right here, people who've never turned anything, the reason you pull that in and then pull it out, because when those shavings build up in there, those things will get wrapped around those bits, and boy, it'll lock that thing up in there, and you cannot get it out. I mean, it becomes part of the vessel. I mean, so that worked good. And now then we're gonna, right there, I took a piece of PVC pipe and put on my tool rest, so that I don't have to adjust my tool rest every time I use it. That PVC will keep it at the proper height that I like to turn. And it saves a lot of time trying to adjust your tool rest, and I can just drop it in there and it's ready to go. And I'm using I forgot what gouge that is. That may be a 1/2 inch. I don't remember. And then I used a 3/4 inch some, and then that 1/2 inch, and then a 3/8. That might have been a 3/8. I don't know. And then I'm going to leave that top of that with that dome on it right there. I'm going to leave a dome, and I'm debating on whether to make a finial for the top, a lid. And I hadn't decided yet if that's if I want to do that. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see later. Here's my hollowing tool I made, and it just sets on the tool rest. And I made the cutters out of 1095 carbon steel, hard steel. I made the cutter out of it. I made all the parts on it, and I can change them out. I can change. You can see the Allens right there, the set screws, where I can change out the bit. And then that little stop sticking up is where I mount the laser. And then the back of it slides in between those two bars back there, so that to stabilize it, where if it was to grab, it will not kick back and ruin your work. So it works really good. And somebody accused me of cheating, but I don't see it as cheating. I see it as being smart, and because it works really well. Effortless, just see how it, and it cuts it out really fast. It'll blow right through that stuff, to where I was trying to do it by hand and putting a gouge back in there that far without some kind of support, man. You can ruin some projects really quick that way, and I've ruined several just getting a catch with the tool way back in there like that. With this, I don't have to worry about it. It's the same all the way up and down the vessel. So you can see right there where the resin it penetrated all the way through that. And I was kind of surprised that it went all inside that. But boy, it took a long time to uh, evacuate all that air out of that thing, and then get that resin down into it. It took me a couple of hours to vacuum that. So here I'm going to sculpt the top of it. It's an angle grinder, and I'll just I'm just going to sculpt that a little bit to make it more interesting. Sculpt that top lid, and we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it'll turn out pretty. I think it will. And I just didn't. I'm just trying to make it unusual. I don't have a set pattern on these that I want to. I want them just at random. I don't want them all the same. And I'm just trying to make it different, unusual. And I think it's going to be really pretty. It looks. I don't know how you describe it. Looks like a dome inside of a volcano or something. But anyway, I enjoy doing what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm gonna sand this up. I'm gonna call it a night and go rest a little while and come back in the morning and we'll start putting a finish on this thing. So we'll talk to you guys in the morning. It was fun. And we'll see you guys in the morning and we'll try and get a finish on this. Well, you can hear my little buddy. He's sitting at the door waiting for me. He's been out in the shop all day. He's ready for some. He's ready for some dinner. He's letting me know. Look at him. He's sitting right there at the back door. He's waiting for me to let him in. That little guy follows me everywhere I go. Love that little dude. His name is Billy Jack, better known as BJ. Okay, I've got this thing all sanded up, and I'm fixing to put a finish on it. And if you can see how slow this turns, where I can apply my finish on it, and like that, and it turns real slow so that my product won't sag. And here's how I got my lathe to turn so slow. Is I hooked up this rod to the shaft, and then I used a barbecue rotisserie. I hooked up to it, so this thing would turn real slow like you would a chicken on a barbecue. So that's how I do my finish. So let's see what this is going to look like. Now then, the finish that I use is a 1-to-4 mix of, actually it's an automotive finish, and it polishes out really, really pretty, just like you see on these really high gloss finished cars. And this stuff dries pretty fast. In 15 minutes, this thing my rotisserie stopped there for a moment. And this will really, it'll fill those pores really, really fast. I'm not putting a sealer on it because this will make its own sealer. And I'm going to put it on pretty heavy on this first coat because I want it to permeate down into those pores on this thing. And I'm going to brush on the first couple of coats, and then after I get this all sealed up, and I'll sand between coats. After I brush on a couple of coats and sand in between, and then the top 2 or 3 coats, I will spray on. So it's going to be really, really pretty, I think. And this is not an endorsement. I don't get any money. I don't get paid for any of this. But it's called Speedacoat. And it's a high gloss, super fast clear coat that used on automotive finishes. And like I say, I've used it on several pieces, and it just makes a beautiful, beautiful finish. Now all these bubbles and stuff on here, when this dries, I'll sand this all down and do it all again. And I'll probably have to do that 2 or 3, maybe 4 times. And then I'll start spraying the top coat on it, and we'll show you how that goes. And I'll be back in a little while when this hardens up some. See you in a bit. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, and about another 20 or 30 minutes it'll be good enough to sand. It's tack free. It's just not quite hard enough yet to put sandpaper to it. So I'll be back in a little while. We'll sand her off and do it again. Here's one of the cool things about my lathe is I can loosen this up and I can swing this around where it makes it a lot easier to work on stuff than it is trying to work on it over that bed. So now then I can stand in front of this and work on it. Tomorrow. I think it's going to be really pretty. So let's turn this back around. And put my bed protector back on it. I don't want that stuff on the bed of my Now I'll mix up some and I'll put one more coat on it and we'll see what happens. Okay, I got her sanded down nice and smooth, so I'm gonna brush one more coat on this thing. And I've got my lathe set on 100 RPM. I'm going to put another really heavy coat on it. So you can see there's not as many bubbles as there was in that first coat. Then when this flashes off a little bit, I'm gonna rub some more on it. But right now, I'm going to do the inside again. I bought an old golf cart a few years ago. It's an '89 Yamaha, and I took it and put a lift kit on it, and I'll show you some pictures of it here one of these days. If I got a picture of it, I'll show it to you on this, and then it's got this same finish on it, and it's been outside now for 10 years, and it still looks like it did the day I finished it with this stuff on it. Here's the golf cart, and this is that same finish, and then I just put some color in it and stuff, and did some airbrush work on this golf cart, flamed it out in kind of a ghost flame, and then I put a lift kit on it, put the lights on the front, and got the surfboards on top up there, and we cruised the beaches down in Galveston and Port Aransas and Corpus Christi, and we can pull up and do some surf fishing, and that thing's just a blast. We cruise the neighborhood in it, and I pick up wood on the curbside to turn on my lathe. It still looks just like I did the day I finished it. See, that's already real tacky. About 5 more minutes, I'll put another coat on it before it gets really hard, because it'll adhere better if you do it while it's still tacky and put the new coat on it. In fact, that's what they recommend. If you let it dry hard, then you have to sand it with a 120 grit before you recoat it. But if you'll recoat it while it's still in a gel state, then you won't have to sand it. So here in a few minutes, I'm going to put another coat on it. Okay, I want to put this last coat on there, and we're going to let it set overnight, because it's still just tacky, and that's what they recommend if you're going to recoat. When you touch it, it'll leave a fingerprint, but it won't come off on your finger. And that's exactly what I've got right here. It took about 10 minutes maybe. This stuff dries really quick, cures real quick, and have more than one top coat. I figure it's probably going to take a couple or more. I want to try and get this stuff as smooth as I can. And you cannot use a flame on it like you do on those acrylic resin. Those resins aren't flammable, but boy, this stuff here is highly volatile. It will flash on you in a second. Just trying to eliminate some of those bubbles because it's already getting tacky. It's thickening up really quick. And those bubbles just keep coming to the surface. And that's just something you have to deal with until you get it completely sealed off. So I'm not going to, it's beginning to drag a little bit, so I'm not going to go any further with this. Let me look at the inside a little bit. See if there's anything I can do there to. Good morning. Okay, I'm back at this thing, and it should be really cured out hard now, and it'll sand up and powder up real good. Hopefully I can sand all of those bubbles out. You can see all these little imperfections. All that's got to go, and we're going to sand that, and let's just see how it turns out. We'll paint, we'll let it dry. Be sure and wear your respirator if you spray this stuff. It's not good to breathe. And put heavy coats on, and those heavy coats will level themselves out. It'll level itself out kind of like an epoxy does. But it's really beautiful. Okay, it's been about an hour and a half or so since I sprayed this, and it evens itself out pretty good. If I sand this one more time and put one more coat on it, I think it's going to get where I want it to be. It's just almost there, but not quite. You can see just a little bit of distortion in it, but it's looking pretty good. I'm going to sand her up, put another coat on it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I sanded this thing up, and I put another coat on it, and it's looking pretty good. That palm wood was a pitch to get a smooth finish on it, because it had so many voids in the surface of it. It was just almost impossible. You couldn't hardly sand it without that resin in it. But it's looking pretty good. Well, I'll let that cure for about an hour or so, and it's pretty much got a glass finish on it, and it's really pretty. It turned out really pretty. I'm pretty happy with it. I didn't think it would ever turn out that way when I started on it, because of the way that grain pattern is in this thing. Anyway, looks pretty good. But you can see right here, see how those, I don't know, they look like straws, and they run they just run erratic across there. See how they do? They're just short pieces of fibers. There's no way you could turn it without stabilizing it with something. And I stabilized it with that black resin. And I still may put a finial on it. I was going to show you. Let me show you guys a piece of this stuff. Let me show you a piece of this stuff. See, this is what it looked like. That's what it looked like when I started. And I had to fill in all of those voids, all down and through all these cracks. And it's just a nightmare. But man, it's just a nightmare to turn. See how this? It's like straws, like a broom. Turned out pretty though. A lot of work. I may later on in another video make a lid for this. A finial is set up there in that hole. I'll experiment with it and see, and if it turns out, I will post it on another video. So, if you would, please subscribe to Gary Mack Studio, and we're going to do more of this kind of thing. I'm going to do some painting, and we're going to pour that brass cannon coming up here pretty soon. So please subscribe, and we shall catch you guys on the next turnaround. Bye bye. Well, my little dog is BJ. He's up here waiting for me to come and let him in the house, and he's ready for dinner. So am I. And get in that nice warm house. Of course, my shop is warm. I've got a heater in there, and I've got an air conditioner in there, and so I stay pretty comfortable in my little old shop. And I'm glad you guys come visit, and hopefully we'll see you again on the next video. Bye bye.